Hey guys, and welcome back to the Healthy Not Complicated podcast. I'm your host, Health Coach Kait, and today we're going to be talking all things autophagy, what it is, how to trigger it, and why it matters even more once you hit 50. Now, I did a podcast episode probably a month or two ago that was about autophagy and specifically about autophagy and fasting. But today I wanted to focus more on other strategies to, boost autophagy that aren't fasting. Because yes, fasting is the most, powerful way to really boost autophagy, but there are things you can do day to day that don't involve skipping meals that can also give you kind of micro doses of it and that are a little bit easier to stick to than a very consistent fasting schedule, which I know some people are disciplined enough to do extended fasting regularly, and this is absolutely great. But especially for women, because our hormones are so easily affected, we can't do extended fasting as often. And that's why it's important to use some of the other strategies to boost autophagy that we're going to be talking about today. Now, if you're totally lost and you're thinking, okay, I have no idea what autophagy is, hang with me for just 1 second. What you need to know is that it is a powerful mechanism in our bodies where when we do certain things, autophagy is triggered, and when autophagy is triggered, it basically signals our body to break down and get rid of damaged cells and regenerate new ones. So I'll get into the full description of what it is in just a minute, but first I'm going to tell you what we're going to cover in today's episode. So I'm going to simplify what autophagy actually is. We're going to talk about different ways to trigger it. That includes intermittent fasting, but other strategies as well. We're going to talk about why it slows down after 50 and ways that you can still harness it and get the benefits. We'll talk about the connection between autophagy and longevity and our metabolism, also disease prevention. And I guess that's going to kind of tie in with why it's not just about weight loss. A lot of people think fasting, they think autophagy, and they think it's only about burning fat and losing weight. And that couldn't be further from the truth. And then we'll talk about, some more real world strategies in order to get these micro doses of autophagy every single day. So what is autophagy and why should you care about it? The word itself can sound a little bit intimidating, but basically what it means is it directly translates into self-eating. And this is when, as I said before, your body is cleaning out damaged cells and recycling them. So this is beneficial for a lot of reasons. Basically, any cells that are damaged in your body that are causing inflammation or pain, autophagy can help to improve these conditions, to get rid of those damaged cells and create new ones. So two of the biggest benefits are that it reduces inflammation and that it improves and supports our immune system. And you can probably already see how this is beneficial for so many functions in the body. Less chronic inflammation anywhere in the body is going to be beneficial. And a better immune system just means better health overall. We're not going to get sick as often. So all of this kind of ties together, and that's why autophagy is so beneficial for longevity, for our metabolic health, and also for disease prevention. Less inflammation in the body, fewer damaged cells, and things are just running smoother. And that translates to so many aspects of our health. So I hope I've done a good job of kind of simplifying what autophagy is. I know it sounds like a big sciencey word, but you can basically think of it as your body taking out the trash. In today's video, we're specifically focusing on autophagy after 50. And unfortunately, like many things within the body, as we age, they start to slow down. And autophagy starts to slow down as well. So this happens because we see hormonal changes as we age. For women, we have lower estrogen levels, and for both sexes, there is less human growth hormone. Our metabolism also slows down as we age. So all of this together just means autophagy isn't happening at the same rate that it does when we're younger. And this matters because lower autophagy means more inflammation. It means we're going to be less resilient to stress, and that's both good stress and bad stress. We're also less resilient to toxins and to diet and lifestyle choices. And I think most of us know this, things that we could get away with when we're younger, eating all that junk food, sitting on the couch, that sort of thing. You can't really get away with it as much as you get older. And part of that is because of reduced autophagy. And that's why it's so important as we age to try to take advantage of autophagy as often as we can. Now, autophagy, it's not the same thing as weight loss. You can lose weight without improving your cell health. And this can happen if you're losing muscle, which also tends to happen as we age. And also if you have poor metabolic flexibility, you can still lose weight, but your cells can still be inflamed and damaged. And on the flip side, you can trigger autophagy and not have to lose weight. Like, you can be a healthy weight and still activate and take advantage of the other benefits of autophagy. It doesn't automatically mean you're going to lose weight. I get that question a lot from people who say they don't want to lose weight, but they want to intermittent fast or they want to do an extended fast. It doesn't always have to mean weight loss. A once-off 72-hour fast is a great way to maximize the benefits of autophagy, but doing a fast like this, it's not about weight loss. Yes, you're going to lose some weight initially, but that's mainly just water weight. Once you start eating again, your weight will go back up. You might lose a pound or two over 72 hours. You might lose maybe a pound of actual fat over a 72-hour fast. But it also comes down to your metabolic health and how much weight you have to lose. If you have a lot of excess body weight on you and excess body fat, then doing a 72-hour fast, you're going to lose more weight than you will if you are a healthy body weight, if that makes sense. Autophagy is more about healing and repair than it is about weight loss. Now, if you are regularly triggering autophagy, this is going to help with your metabolic flexibility. Your body is going to be able to burn fat more efficiently and use energy more efficiently. And a side effect of this, if you have excess weight to lose, is going to be weight loss. But autophagy has so many benefits that go beyond that. All right, so how do you trigger autophagy? Now, I've done a few videos and podcasts on my channel recently, like I mentioned before, about intermittent fasting, extended fasting, and autophagy. I did a video maybe a couple weeks ago on what happens to your body when you do a 72-hour fast and the different stages that you go through. And at about the 72-hour fasting mark, that is when autophagy usually peaks. If you fast any longer than that, it does start to decline a little bit. So that's why I generally recommend that being the sweet spot for when you end an extended fast. Now, 72-hour fasts only need to be done every couple of months, every few months. They don't need to be done that often in order to get the benefits of autophagy. But I do know that fasting for 72 hours, especially if you've never fasted before, can feel very overwhelming. And yes, people online will make it seem like it's easy. They'll say that once you hit a certain point, your hunger goes down, but there is so much more to it. Yes, if you can get to that point, usually about 24, 36 hours, then your hunger does start to decline. But there's so many other factors that come into play when sticking to a fast. For myself personally, I am someone who eats to procrastinate. If there's something I don't want to be doing, then I kind of tend to gravitate towards eating in order to avoid doing that task. And that's not about hunger. That is more of a psychological thing. And that's something I recognize, but it's also something that I know makes doing an extended fast harder for me. And that's why if I am trying to do a 72-hour fast, I have to make sure that I am busy, ideally that I am out of the house. I find that's a lot easier for me. Yeah, there are just different strategies, and it's not as easy to do a 72-hour fast as some people online make it seem. If you can do it and you can do it semi-regularly, fantastic. But if you can't, then even doing daily intermittent fasting, and I'm talking a 12 to 16 hour fast every day or most days, it doesn't have to be the same every single day. This does increase autophagy as well. Yes, not to the same degree as that maximum peak you're going to get from 72 hours, but it does increase it. So you are still getting, again, those little micro doses of autophagy, which add up over time. Now, you've probably heard me say this before if you've listened to the podcast, but if you're doing any version of intermittent fasting, extended fasting, or if you're eating lower carb and you're not taking electrolytes, you're making it harder than it needs to be. One of the reasons fasting or keto can feel so hard, especially in the beginning, is that your insulin drops and you lose water and minerals fast. And that's where electrolytes come in. They help you stay hydrated, focused, and energized, even when you're not eating. And my go-to brand is Sodi. Sodi's electrolytes are clean, science-backed, and actually formulated with the right balance of sodium, potassium, and magnesium. No weird additives, no sugar, nothing artificial, and they don't break a fast. I use Sodi's everyday hydration salts every single day, but I find them extra beneficial during fasts and before my workouts. They seriously make a difference in how I feel and perform. If you're low in electrolytes, you're going to get headaches, you're going to feel fatigued, and you might even get muscle cramps. But all of that can be avoided by replenishing electrolytes. To check them out, head to healthcoachkait.com/Sodi electrolytes and use code HCK15 at checkout to save 15% off your order. Sodi ships worldwide, so no one is left out. Now, another way to increase autophagy is to eat a low-carb or keto diet. And the reason this is beneficial is that eating low carbohydrates, limiting your carbs, mimics some of the benefits of fasting. Ketosis and autophagy tend to go hand in hand. When your ketones increase, autophagy generally is going up as well. And ketosis happens when your insulin levels are low. So anything you can do to keep your insulin low is going to help you to increase your ketones and to increase autophagy. And the most effective way to do this on a consistent basis is to eat a low-carb diet. So if you are already trying to improve your insulin resistance and you've watched some of my other videos on the topic, then you will know how important being smart about carbs is, because carbs are the macronutrient that requires the most insulin to process. So if you're trying to keep your insulin low, to reverse insulin resistance, and also to increase your ketones and increase autophagy, then being smart about carbs is important. I do have other videos on how to do this, so I'll link one on the screen right now, or if you're listening on Spotify, I'll put it in the description box. It's not complicated. It basically comes down to anytime you eat carbohydrates, make sure you pair them with protein and fat. You can also just go for a walk after you eat carbs or take berberine before you eat them. All of these strategies help to blunt the blood sugar spike from the carbs, and with this blood sugar spike not being as sharp, then less insulin is needed all at once, and that's where it helps to lower your insulin levels and increase autophagy. So like I said, I'll link one of those on the screen right now. Another way to increase autophagy is with exercise. And the most beneficial types of exercise are zone 2 cardio. So this is low intensity cardio, like walking, cycling, basically any cardio you can do where you can breathe entirely through your nose. That is going to be in the zone 2 heart rate zone, and this is fantastic for autophagy. And then the other main way to trigger autophagy through exercise is with HIIT training. HIIT stands for high intensity interval training, and basically that's any type of training that you do where you have short durations of maximum effort, so 10, 20 seconds of trying to get your heart rate as high as possible. And then you have adequate rest in between. And you repeat this 5, 10, maybe 15 times, depending on how metabolically healthy you are and what exercise you're doing. And this is another way to really increase autophagy. Now, the key here is that it's short duration and you're not getting stuck in chronic cardio. This is a mistake I see a lot of people making when they start exercising in order to improve their health and maybe lose weight, is they end up starting to do something like running or cycling, but instead of staying in that zone 2 zone, they are keeping their heart rates elevated higher than that for long periods of time. And this is kind of like a danger zone where it's in between HIIT training, where it's maximum effort, and that zone 2 cardio. When you're in the middle, that's kind of, you're not getting the benefits of either. You're in this sort of middle area where it's just causing higher cortisol, higher stress, and you're not getting the benefits of autophagy or fat burning or improving your health in general. So you really want to do either high intensity, short duration, or low intensity for long durations. The next way to trigger autophagy is with red light therapy. And this is a type of, therapy where your body is exposed to certain wavelengths of red light and near infrared light. These have been heavily researched. There is a lot of solid peer-reviewed studies done on red light therapy. And basically what red light therapy does is it improves, or it gives your mitochondria more energy. So the mitochondria are the powerhouses of our cells. And if they have more energy, they're going to be working more efficiently. And part of the reason they work more efficiently is because of this increase in autophagy. So this doesn't happen from any type of red light. It has to be very specific wavelengths. So you have to buy certain devices that are made for red light therapy, and you want to buy them from good brands, not those cheap ones off Amazon, because a lot of those, it is only just red light and not the right wavelengths. So this one I have in the background here, this is from Bon Charge. I can link it down below. There's also a red light therapy bag that I have from a brand called Magellan. That one, it's kind of like a sauna blanket, and I'll put it on the screen right now, but that's a great way to take advantage of it as well. And all you need to do to get the benefits of it, expose your bare skin to it for 10 to 15 minutes per day. And that's all it takes. And red light therapy, the benefits go beyond autophagy as well. There are so many benefits for your skin health, for reducing scarring, reducing wrinkles, reducing pigmentation. And then the near infrared light goes a little bit deeper, and it can help just reduce inflammation in general. It helps to improve how fast your muscles recover after exercise. It can improve exercise performance. And like I said, there have been so many studies done on red light therapy. It sounds a bit woo-woo if you've never heard of it before, but it is backed by a lot of science and it is completely legitimate. So I'll link to some red light therapy devices in the description box down below. I'll also put a full video on red light therapy that talks a little bit more about it and shows some of those studies on the screen right now, so you can check that out afterwards. But this is a super easy technique, I guess, that you can add into your routine daily that can help you to, again, get those little micro doses of autophagy over time. And the final way to boost autophagy that we're going to be talking about today is improving your sleep and getting more deep sleep. This gets so overlooked. A lot of people, I do think it is kind of changing and people are recognizing the importance of sleep a little bit more now. But I think a lot of people still don't recognize how important sleep is, because this is basically when our cells are actually repairing. And if we're not sleeping properly, if we're not getting adequate sleep, if we're not getting enough deep sleep, then our cells can't repair and just nothing can function properly. And that also means a decrease in autophagy. So a few things that stop autophagy: if you are constantly eating and snacking throughout the day, then you are going to have very low levels of it, because autophagy happens when insulin levels are low, and basically every time you eat, insulin is going to increase to some degree. So if you are not letting your body, or if you're not letting your insulin come back down to baseline in between your meals and your snacks, if you're eating every few hours, then you're not going to have much autophagy happening throughout the day. So I always recommend having 2 to 3 meals per day, making sure you get enough protein in those meals, at least 30 grams of high quality, ideally animal protein, building your meals around protein. And if you do this then, and you're not snacking in between your meals, your blood sugar and your insulin can come back down to baseline in between, and you're getting those little hits of autophagy. I am a huge advocate for not snacking throughout the day. If you are hungry in between your meals, it likely means you're not getting enough protein in at your meals. So try to increase it the next time you eat, and try to increase it in general. I have a ton of videos on protein, how to get more in, what 30 grams looks like. So head over to my channel. I think I have a whole playlist on protein. So check that out if you're feeling a little stuck in that regard. As I said before, poor sleep also stops autophagy or decreases it. And also chronic stress. This is another big one. If your cortisol levels are too high, then autophagy basically gets shut off, because your body is focused on trying to get away from the threat or the perceived threat. They're not in a state where they're focused on recovery. And this is another reason why, sort of a side tangent here, women can overfast and can be doing these extended fasts and not losing weight. Women especially. It can happen for men too. But women are more sensitive to higher cortisol levels, and this can impact our hormones in a more major way than it can for men. So if women are over fasting and they're not eating enough during their feeding window, then cortisol stays high. All of our hormones get thrown out of whack. This impacts our reproductive health. We throw off our menstrual cycle, that sort of thing. It all goes hand in hand. And that's why I think in general, daily intermittent fasting of 12 to 16, maybe 18 hours, and then making sure you're eating enough within your feeding window is going to be more beneficial than trying to do extended fasts too often. Having high blood sugar, so if you're pre-diabetic or type 2 diabetic, and especially if you're injecting insulin, that stops autophagy. Again, high insulin, no autophagy or less autophagy, a sedentary lifestyle, and there are also environmental toxins which can impact autophagy. Things like heavy metals and microplastics. I'm sure you've heard about these and the negative impacts they can have on our health. And reduced autophagy is unfortunately one of them. Now, another reason that autophagy is so important as we age, I mean, if we can take advantage of autophagy more when we're younger, then this is going to help us as we age as well. But autophagy has been linked to reducing Alzheimer's, reducing cancer, reducing type 2 diabetes, PCOS, cardiovascular disease. So if we can increase autophagy more often, then this is going to help with longevity and help us prevent these diseases that we see more of as we get older. Now, a final few questions that I want to answer before we wrap up is more autophagy always better? And the answer is no. There does have to be a balance here. We are meant to cycle between being in a fed and fasted state. And when we're in this fasted state, that's when autophagy ramps up. But we don't want to be in this state forever. Eating is important. We do need food to fuel us. We do need food to help us build and maintain muscle mass, which is also important for longevity. We need it to support our hormones. So we can't just be fasting all of the time. Yes, if you have a lot of weight to lose, then you can fast for longer and not have it negatively impact your muscle mass and your hormones, that sort of thing. But as you get closer to a healthy weight, more fasting isn't always better. As I've said a few times throughout this podcast, shorter intermittent fasting done on a consistent basis is going to be more beneficial. Okay, so we've covered a lot in today's episode. Let's quickly recap some of the key concepts. Autophagy becomes more important as we age. It slows down, so we want to take advantage of it in more ways if we can. You don't need to do an extended fast in order to trigger and increase autophagy. Shorter intermittent fasting can trigger it, red light therapy, eating a low-carb ketogenic diet, exercise, so mainly zone 2 cardio or HIIT training, and sleeping better can help to increase autophagy as well. Small, consistent changes go a long way. But anyways, guys, I am going to wrap up this episode here. I hope you found this helpful. I want to hear from you guys in the comment section. Do you have any questions about autophagy or anything we spoke about in today's video? Leave them down below, especially right after I post this video or podcast. If you leave those down below, either in the Spotify comments or in the YouTube comments, I try to answer as many as I can within the first day. After that, I still try to answer them, but I usually check them a little bit more and it's a little easier to keep up with right after I post the video. So if you have a question, leave it down below. Thank you guys for watching, and I will see you in the next episode. Bye, guys.